Welcome in to the live desk. In just minutes, we are expecting a news conference from the law enforcement in Lewiston, Maine. You can see those details here on your screen. Right now, I do want to kind of go through what we know so far this morning. At least 16 people were killed, 25 or more injured in mass shootings at a restaurant in a bowling alley in Maine overnight. But the death toll could be as high as 22. And right now, you're taking a look at file video we have here at the live desk from overnight. This was a very active scene, as you can see. There are a lot of police presence there in Maine. I also want to take a look at another update coming in from CNN so far this morning. If we take another look at that live shot coming in from police outside of this area, not sure exactly where this is, but this is coming in from one of the stations there. You can see it is still an active scene as police continue to search for the person of interest in those mass shootings that took place last night. The latest statement coming in from Chief Ryan McGee. He said earlier this morning, saying his officers have been chasing leads throughout the night and the morning today. Chief McGee also said they found a vehicle of interest that they believe is the suspect's car. Now, with that being said, I do want to take a look at Facebook right now. They posted this 13 hours ago, and they said it is believed that the front bumper may have been painted black. But again, they have found this vehicle so far, of what we know so far this morning. That is coming in from information from CNN. I also want to roll you guys through also what we know this morning. This is the man that they are currently looking for, 40-year-old Robert Card. Now, Card is a certified firearms instructor and a member of the U.S. Army Reserve. He had recently made threats to carry out a shooting at the National Guard facility and also reported mental health issues, including hearing voices. Police said he should be considered armed and dangerous. We are seeing a lot of reaction on social media this morning, a lot coming from officials, especially here locally. So I do want to take a look at social media platform X. This tweet coming in from Mayor Quentin Lucas. He said at 5:54 this morning, my condolences to the many touched by the tragedy in Maine and gun tragedies in our very own community. My hopes that we all can decide to do something about it. And like I said, he is not the only one. We're seeing a lot of reaction from people nationally, local leaders nationally, and we do know that President Joe Biden, he has been briefed on the mass shootings that took place in Maine overnight. Now, what we can expect from the news conference today, we do have a live shot there. We're just waiting for officials to take the podium. And as we wait, you guys can expect Maine Governor Janet Mills. She will be present at the conference. Her office said in a statement, adding that she has spoken to President Joe Biden, who pledged his administration's full support. And I just also want to touch on this fact. The violence added to a list of 565 mass shootings reported across the United States just in 2023 alone. And we do have a tweet coming in from the Gun Violence Archive. You can see that here on your screen, as well as a photo of Robert Card, who is 40 years old. He is the person of interest in these mass shootings. The Gun Violence Archive, they said that the Lewiston attack is the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. since at least August of 2019, when a gunman opened fire on shoppers at an El Paso Walmart with an AK-47 rifle, killing 23 people. Again, that is the latest information coming in from the Gun Violence Archive. Now, as we continue to track the latest developments on this story, I do want to take a look at CNN as they have live updates coming in minute by minute as we wait for that press conference. You can see here federal agencies are assisting in search for person of interest in those mass shootings. We do know that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Department of Homeland Security, and others have joined the search for a person of interest who police say is connected to the shootings in Lewiston, Maine. I also want to take a look at this update here on your screen. Portland Public School is closed Thursday today due to the shooting manhunt that is obviously still underway. We do know that this is the largest school district in the state with approximately 6,500 students, according to the district's website. And again, that manhunt is still underway. We also know that a grocery store chain, was closed as well in the area. And take a look at this update you see here. Lewiston Bowling Alley says that they have lost some amazing people in last night's shooting. This is the latest statement coming in from them. None of this seems real, but unfortunately it is. We are devastated for our community and our staff. We lost some amazing and wholehearted people from our bowling alley family and community last night. There are no words to fix this or make it better. They also go on to say that we are praying for everyone who has been affected by this horrific tragedy. We love you all and hold you close in our hearts. Again, we have updates coming in minute by minute, and I am tracking it all here at the live desk. But that is the latest development to take away from this entire story. At least 16 people were killed last night in Lewiston, Maine, and we do know that dozens more are injured. And again, that death toll could be as high as 22, but that has not yet been confirmed. We are hoping to get more details from law enforcement officials here soon. That press conference is supposed to start here shortly, and we do have a live shot looking at that podium. So as soon as they approach that podium, we will be sure to take that live so you all can hear exactly the latest developments coming in from Maine. I am going to continue to check CNN right now to see if there are any new updates ahead of that press conference. Okay, so as about 8 minutes ago, we do know that President Joe Biden ordered flags to be lowered to half-staff today as a mark of respect for the victims of the senseless acts of violence that happened late last night in Lewiston, Maine. And we also know that notably the White House said the White House has still not issued a statement on the shooting other than to say that Biden was briefed on the situation last night. But again, that is the latest update coming in from the White House 8 minutes ago, that Biden has ordered flags to be lowered at half-staff after the mass shootings that happened late last night. As we continue to wait for this press conference, let's take another look at the person of interest. Right now, you're taking a look at 40-year-old Robert Card. Again, he is a certified firearms instructor and a member of the U.S. Army Reserve. And I also want to touch on this, that he recently made threats to carry out a shooting at a National Guard facility and also reported mental health issues. So that is the man that police are currently looking for. And as we also touched on, there are several federal agencies that are now in a part of this investigation looking for that man, a part of the manhunt, I should say. I am going to turn back to CNN so you all can see that latest update coming in from the White House. You can see that now here on your screen at the live desk. We're going to go down as I continue to look for more updates and as we continue to wait for this press conference to get underway. All right, it looks like we do have a new statement 1 minute ago coming in from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. He says, "We pray there is no more bloodshed after the horrors of last night. The stories coming out of Lewiston are gut-wrenching. People gunned down while they're trying to enjoy their night out at a bowling alley and at a restaurant." He goes on to say that this is supposed to be a place where families go to have a good time, but now they have become sites. So many places of tragic mass shootings like this one continue to happen in our country. And that statement is coming in from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer addressing the mass shootings that took place in Maine last night. And I want to touch on that. He says the mass shootings like this one that continue to happen in our country, going back to what the Gun Violence Archive, what they put out this morning, basically saying that this is adding to the list of 565 mass shootings so far this year, and this is the deadliest shooting since August of 2019. And we still have a few months to go in the year of 2023, but to see something like this, you can see that coming in from statements from officials, local leaders. They're all just heartbroken. We're all just shocked, and we'll never get used and immune to situations like this. But I am tracking the latest developments as those reactions continue to come in from local leaders as well as the national leaders as well. I do want to turn back to this tweet coming in from Mayor Quentin Lucas. If you missed this during our live stream a little bit earlier, this is the latest statement coming in from him through the social media platform X. Just a small piece of that. He just says, "My hopes that we can all decide to do something about these gun tragedies, not only here in our own community, but across the country." But especially he touches on the tragedy in Maine and sending his condolences to the many that have been impacted by that. And I do know that the governor there is speaking out, but we also have a statement coming in. Let's see, let's scroll down here. This is all coming in from CNN. They've been reporting on this minute by minute, like I mentioned, but we do know that this is the Auburn mayor. He said that there's going to be very few people in our town that have not been touched by the shooting. So this is a very close-knit community, and we know that he goes on to say that several of them aren't with us anymore. And the other folks that I knew that were there, either as witnesses or family members of witnesses, it's obviously traumatic. And as we take a look at this live shot, police very active still in Maine this morning. I also want to touch on what I heard from a young girl who was inside of the bowling alley with her family late last night. Saw it on social media, but she basically said that she didn't know that she was going to get shot. She was going to have a bullet in her leg, and her main concern was last night, was she going to survive? And I believe she was either 8 or 9 years old. So that is coming from a young child who was involved in this shooting, just having a night out with her family at a bowling alley. And unfortunately, she is waking up this morning obviously traumatized by the situation that happened on a Wednesday night. Again, we are still waiting for that press conference to get underway, and I am still tracking the latest developments coming in from CNN right now as we continue to take a live look at that live shot we have from Maine right now. Alrighty, so thanks for sticking around with us here at the live desk. Again, I am Janae Hancock here at the live desk tracking the latest news coming in. I also want to touch on this as we take another look at that file video that we have from overnight. This is coming in from the police chief in Maine. He is urging residents, let's touch on that, to report anything suspicious as the search continues after those shootings late last night. He said in a statement, if you look out in your yard and you're like the door wasn't open or that trailer wasn't positioned that way, if you see anything suspicious, please make sure to contact us. He also went on to say we've had everything from people calling about, noises in the basement, noises in the woods, suspicious people, gunshots all night long since the incident in Lewiston late last night. Again, that is coming in from the police chief in Lewiston. That is Chief McGee. That is the latest statement coming in from him just minutes ago. So I will continue to check around. We are expecting that press conference to get underway in about 1 minute, but I will continue to check for the latest posts coming in from local officials as they continue to react to this news and as they wake up to this breaking news that happened overnight. Again, 16 people were killed, 25 or more injured in those mass shootings at a restaurant and a bowling alley in Maine last night. And again, that search is still underway for 40-year-old Robert Card. We're still waiting to learn a lot more details about him as far as maybe a motive, what led up to this, a possible motive. But we do know that he was a certified, or he is a certified firearms instructor. As we continue to wait for more details on him and maybe where he could possibly be if law enforcement, if they are zoning in on a certain area, we should expect more details coming up during this press conference, and we're taking a live look there right now. And it looks like they are getting ready to start, so let's take a listen in.
noticed my voice is a little hoarse. Working through the night. As you all know, last night, local, county, state, and federal law enforcement officers from around the state of Maine responded to reports of an active shooter at several locations in Lewiston, including Spare Time Recreation and Schmandy's Bar and Grill. These law enforcement officers, in the face of danger, responded swiftly, selflessly, and with great bravery. Bravery that they continue to demonstrate today as they search tirelessly for a person of interest in connection with last night's event. On behalf of all Maine people, I express my deep gratitude for your response and for your continued service. I also do so for Maine's hospitals and other medical emergency responders. I'm profoundly saddened to stand before you today to report that 18 people lost their lives and 13 people injured in last night's attacks. In memory of those we lost and in honor of those who were injured, President Biden and I have ordered all U.S. flags and state of Maine flags to be lowered to half-staff immediately for the next 5 days. Maine State Police have issued a shelter-in-place order for Lewiston, Lisbon, and Bowdoin as the manhunt for that person of interest, Robert Card of Bowdoin, continues. I will let law enforcement speak to the ongoing manhunt and to their investigation, but Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances. I continue to strongly urge Maine people to follow the direction of state and local law enforcement amid this ever-changing situation. Please, if you see anything suspicious, please call 911. There are still many things we don't yet know about these attacks, but the full weight of my administration is behind law enforcement's efforts to capture the person of interest, Robert Card, to hold whoever is responsible for this atrocity accountable under the full force of state and federal law, and to seek full justice for the victims and their families. We cannot and we will not rest in this endeavor. My administration is coordinating closely with local, regional, and federal officials to respond to this shooting. I have spoken twice with President Biden. I've spoken with Vice President Harris, Secretary of Homeland Security in my office, and Secretary of Health and Human Services, Sarah. All of whom have called me last night to express the Biden administration's full and unwavering support and to offer any and all help that we, the people of Maine, might require. The governors of our neighboring New England states and of other states have contacted me to offer aid, and I'm sincerely grateful for their friendship and support. We've been in touch with every member of the Maine congressional delegation, all of whom have offered their full support, for which I'm also grateful. I also spoke with Mayor Carl Chalene and Auburn Mayor Jason Levesque last night to reiterate that we are standing by them and that we are ready to provide any help people in these communities need and to deploy all available state resources, including grief counselors and other mental health services. We need to help our communities heal. If you or a person you love need someone to talk to during this difficult time, please call or text 988 for free and confidential counseling. 988. Look, Lewiston is a special place. It's a close-knit community with a long history of hard work, of persistence, of faith, of opening its big heart to people everywhere. Lewiston is where I worked for years. It's where I met and married my husband, and where our girls went to school. I love this place, just as I love the whole state with my entire heart. I'm so deeply saddened, as is every one of the 1.3 million people of this beautiful state. This city did not deserve this terrible assault on its citizens, on its peace of mind, on its sense of security. No city does, no state, no people. No words can truly or fully measure the grief of many people today. Our small state of just 1.3 million people has long been known as one of the safest states in the nation. This attack strikes at the very heart of who we are and the values we hold dear for this precious place we call home. All Maine people are sharing in the sorrow of the families who lost loved ones last night. Loved ones, normal people who were killed or injured while unwinding from a day of work or while spending time with their family and friends, socializing. So on behalf of the 1.3 million people of the whole state of Maine, I hold these families and this city in my heart today. I know that the people of Lewiston are enduring immeasurable pain. I wish I could take that pain off your hearts, off your shoulders, but I promise you this, we will all help you carry that grief. I ask many people to join me in offering our comfort to the families and friends who have lost someone, and in offering our prayers for swift recovery for those who are healing in Maine's hospitals today. This is a dark day for Maine. I know it's hard for us to think about healing when our hearts are broken. But I want every person in Maine to know that we will heal together. We are strong. We are resilient. We are a very caring people. In the days and weeks ahead, we will need to lean on those qualities more than ever before. As we move forward, struggling as we may, let us wrap our arms around one another, offer comfort and solace and love. I know the Maine State Police will continue to release information to the public as we confirm it, and information about any steps that the public might take to support the people of Lewiston at this time. May God bless the people of Lewiston and bless the memories of those we have lost. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Sasha.
Thank you very much, Governor. We certainly appreciate your support. The City of Lewiston does, the State of Maine, certainly our first responders. We feel that love every day, and thank you very much for that. I would also say that we want to say thank you to a really large number of other elected officials across our state, whether that's the federal delegation, local elected officials, and many others that are part of organizations or law enforcement agencies that truly wanted to join us today at this particular press event and wanted to speak on behalf of their communities. And as the governor had mentioned, and everybody else will reiterate, our reality for today is that this suspect is still at large. And we want to provide community support for the victims, for the families, and the communities across the state. But we also have an incredibly strong, laser-like focus on bringing this suspect into custody and ultimately to justice. So because of that mission for this particular event and today's activities, we're keeping the list of speakers and the agenda pretty tight. And that will include next up at the podium would be Chief Dave St. Pierre for the City of Lewiston. And some other members of his command staff are present. What I will say to the city of Lewiston, and you know this because you feel it every day, but you're lucky to have a chief like Chief St. Pierre and his entire law enforcement agency. From every level, those officers put their heart and their soul on the line on behalf of their community last night and into today. And they're doing it for the right reasons. They do it because they care. So the city of Lewiston and truly our co-responder family across the state of Maine is lucky to have Dave and his team in the mix with us. And we're also going to hear from Colonel William Ross from the Maine State Police. And Bill will highlight some of the timeline things that you're probably concerned about and certainly interested in from a story perspective. So the Colonel will come up and speak to that. And we'll also have Jody Cohen. And Jody is the special agent in charge for the FBI out of the Boston field office. And Jody will highlight some of those federal partnerships and some of the things that our federal partners are bringing to the table, bringing to bear to help us with this investigation. We also have a bunch of people here. Once you start naming people, you're going to have a problem because you're going to forget somebody or screw something up. But I would also tell you that a couple of our other federal partners are here. Kevin Neal, who's the U.S. Marshal for the District of Maine. We also have James Ferguson, and Jim is the special agent in charge from the ATF for the Boston Field Division. They are heavily invested with staff along with the FBI, and we can't thank them enough for all that they're doing on behalf of our state. I would also tell you that we are going to close with a brief Q&A, and we're going to try to get some of those questions out there. We appreciate your time, your patience, your professionalism, your partnership at getting this information out. I would think that those questions are going to be brief, because again, we do have a suspect at large, and while you can help us with that, we also need to get back to our team to push forward on that. So with that in mind, I would be back up to the podium to kind of steer that a little bit. But for starters, I would like to have Chief St. Pierre join us.
Thank you, Director Sawchuk, and welcome media partners. And thank you, Governor Mills, for those kind words. I'm going to keep this short. What I would like the very most is to express our deepest sympathies to the families and friends of the victims of this heinous crime. This is truly a tragedy that goes beyond comprehension. I'm confident in our community, that our community has and will continue to come together throughout this endeavor to bring this to a successful conclusion. Although difficult, I do ask the public to continue to be mindful of their own personal safety, and also that they be patient with the process as much as possible. There is extensive work and attention to detail that goes into such a large-scale investigation. I'm confident in the expertise and professionalism of our investigators and all law enforcement officials that are currently involved. This is an all-hands-on-deck approach. We have a great deal of collaboration and resources that have been made available to us. There are far too many to name individually, but I think Director Sawchuk named quite a few appropriately. There are far too many, as I've stated, but they are all appreciated more than you know. I want to thank all of our brave men and women of the Lewiston Police Department, Fire Department staff, medical personnel, first responders of any kind that came from far and wide and have come together and continue to work tirelessly in bringing the situation to an end. We hope to locate and hold the person accountable. I think you'll hear next from the state police, who is taking the lead in this investigation. Although that we are working hand in hand with them, I think Colonel Ross will be able to fill you in a little bit more.
Thank you, Chief. First and foremost, this is an ongoing homicide investigation in search for the person that is responsible for it. We're in the early stages of this investigation, and I just want to let you know we will have updates. We'll be putting some type of a schedule out later on. But again, early stages of a homicide investigation, we want to be careful that we're doing things correctly. We want to get ahead of ourselves. I'm going to give you a bit of a timeline here to kind of fill in some of the blanks and give you some of the facts as we know them right now. A lot of this information will then be transferred to the Attorney General's office, as they will be the lead prosecutor, again, in any homicide investigation. Last night, October 25th at approximately 6:56 p.m., the Auburn Communications Center received a 911 call of a male shooting in Just-in-Time, or the Spare Time Recreation Center in the town of Lewiston, located at 24 Mollison Way in Lewiston. Shortly after that, at about 7:08 p.m., the communications center received multiple 911 calls about an active shooter inside of a Spenge's Billiards at 553 Lincoln Street in the town of Lewiston. A large law enforcement response from multiple surrounding agencies assisted the Lewiston Police Department in trying to identify who this individual was and what was happening. As you can imagine, this was a very fast-paced, fast-moving, very fluid scene, very dangerous scene that these guys and girls were going into. 18 people are now deceased at this time. The victims at the just-in-time establishment, 7 people are deceased there, 1 female and 6 males, all from an apparent gunshot wound. Victims at the Schmeckley's Billiards, 8 are deceased. 7 males inside the establishment, 1 male outside of the establishment. Again, also apparent gunshot wounds. Multiple people were transferred to area hospitals, Central Maine Medical Center, St. Mary's, and Maine Medical Center. 3 people that were transferred to those hospitals are deceased, for a total of 18 people deceased at this time. The investigation into the person responsible for this identified a vehicle located at the Project Scott boat landing in Lisbon. That person, through the registration of that vehicle, was identified, as been stated earlier, as a Robert Card, born in 1983. Several of the deceased have been identified, and their families, next of kin, have been notified. Approximately 8 people at this point have been identified. 10 people, 10 of these victims, still need to be identified at this time. Currently, there is an arrest warrant for 8 counts of murder for Mr. Card. And the reason it's 8 counts because 10 people have not yet been identified. As those people are identified, the counts will probably go to a total of 18. He should be considered armed and dangerous. Based on our investigation, we believe this is someone that should not be approached. This is someone that should be, if you come into any contact with this individual or someone that you think looks like this individual, you were to call 911, and I'll provide some tip line numbers at the conclusion of my briefing. Lewiston Police Department, federal, state, county, other local municipalities are involved in a coordinated search at this moment for this individual. So there's the ongoing investigation and there's a search to apprehend this person. Both happen simultaneously. I can't stress this enough. This is an ongoing investigation in the early stages. More information will come out in conjunction with the Attorney General's office as the lead prosecutor. We can't share all of our information right now, and I'm sure you understand that. I'm going to give out 2 numbers that go to a tip line. 911 is also appropriate for this, but if anyone can call these 2 numbers, this would go to the state police tip line. Area code 207-213-9526, 207-509-9002. And we'll be sending something out later that has that information in it if you weren't able to grab that now. Again, this is a very fluid situation. We have a lot of resources, as Chief St. Pierre had mentioned earlier, that are on the ground in a coordinated effort to apprehend this individual. We've notified the Department of Education, and they have determined what they're going to do with the schools. A lot of schools, area schools, were shut down today based on our conversation with them. Again, as more information comes in, we'll be providing it to you. Thank you for your time. This is a very difficult time for, I think, the community of Lewiston, difficult time for, obviously, the victims' families, and it's a tough time for law enforcement. It was a rough night last night, but we're committed to bringing whoever's responsible to justice, And again, we are currently looking for Mr. Card right now, someone that we'd like to apprehend. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. And FBI Special Agent in Charge, Cohen, if you could join me, please.
Thank you. My name is Joey Cohen. I'm the Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston Division, which covers the state of Maine. Our hearts go out to everyone who was impacted as a result of the senseless violence. The FBI is working hand in hand with our law enforcement partners. Our evidence response team is here processing these very extensive scenes. We are providing investigative and tactical support, as well as our victim specialists are working with those affected by this tragedy. As this very active investigations continues to unfold, we're asking the public to stay vigilant and come forward with any information that you might have that you feel is helpful to our investigators. My pledge is that the FBI will carry out this investigative case with rigor. We will work day and night alongside our law enforcement partners to get the answers to the questions this community deserves. We thank the public for your continued cooperation and patience as we continue to work this very active investigation. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And I would say that the reality here from a resource standpoint is that when we've asked for anything, the answer has been yes, period. Tactical teams, evidence response teams, full-blown investigative units, detective units that have come from multiple states, whether it's the commissioners from Vermont and New Hampshire reaching out to me directly, Massachusetts saying, what do you need, Mike? What can we do for the state of Maine? So we are now prepared to try to take a few questions. And keep in mind, again, that we may not be able to answer as in-depth as you would like, and we don't plan on taking a great deal of questions. I think follow-up press events will allow for that. Sir?
So no one has really talked about the weapon that was used here, the AR-15 style, so I hope someone can talk about that. But the other thing here is there are reports that this individual had mental health issues, that he made threats to shoot up the National Guard. So clearly there were some signs there that he was on someone's radar. The question becomes, why was he in possession of this weapon? And certainly, why wasn't he stopped sooner?
Yeah, I think those are all valid questions, and certainly questions that we are looking into now, but not questions that we can answer today. Considering that this occurred last night, there's still an active search for the suspect in question. So I appreciate those questions, but not something we're going to be able to answer.
But is it something that you're investigating and looking at?
It is certainly one of those things that we want to follow up on, all aspects of that.
Why does
Go ahead, right here. Yes.
Can you give us a sense of the ages of who has died? How many are under 18 and how many are over 18?
I'm not sure we have that information with us today. We wanted to break it down by gender because that's something we had readily available. We did not break this down into age ranges at all.
Sir, what can you tell us? What can you tell us about the background of the suspect in this case, or I should say the person of interest, because I noticed the language is very clear. You're saying person of interest, not suspect. So why use that terminology, and what can you tell us about his background?
Yeah, I think we used person of interest last night for half of the room that was here for that press event. As the Colonel had mentioned, there is now arrest warrants for murder for this particular individual, Mr. Carr. So he is viewed as a suspect, and there is a full court press by all of our partners to bring him into custody. What was the second piece of that question?
What can you tell us about his background? Simone had asked a second ago about the idea that he had voiced concerns about his own mental health, right? Had been committed, according to language in a police bulletin, to a mental health facility for weeks. How could someone that fits that profile still be in possession of semi-automatic weapons?
Well, I do think that the statutes around firearms and the possession of those are pretty complex. I know that we will be reviewing that information as we move forward, but that's not an answer that we're prepared to give today. If that leads to motive, you're talking about behavioral health issues and how that impacts the situation. I would expect you'll hear back from us on that in the future. Right here.
Yeah, I've got a question about it. We've seen helicopters as far north as on the. Can you tell us anything about what's leading you that far north of the scene where you're coming from?
Yeah, sure. So we have law enforcement assets that are deployed over a number of communities doing follow-ups on a number of different things. So as you can imagine, There's a great deal of search warrants that we're following up on. We do have partners, that helicopters from the New Hampshire State Police. That copter was here last night to assist us as well. So whether we have tactical elements out or we're searching an area, some of those air assets would be very, very valuable.
Is
So
there
that's what
anything
we're doing.
that's leading you there?
We're not going to speak to what brings us to a specific community one way or the other.
Also, identifying the unidentified victims. What are people encouraged to do? Is there DNA being, tested from family members who may have missing loved ones? Like, what is that? What's that approved right now?
Yeah, so we did have a family reunification center open last night. We do have behavioral health liaisons that are fully engaged to work with families, they work with loved ones, and work with victims for that matter that may be in the hospital and seeking treatment. So those things are actively occurring. We are dealing with each one of those situations separately. So do we need DNA on that? Are we just waiting to find a loved one, some kind of family member that we can make a notification? I think that varies across the board. I'm going to take two more questions. Right here.
Yes, so there's some sort of triggering event. Is that something that you're investigating?
I think we're always concerned around motive. That you say triggering event, that's a motive for us. Again, that's not something we're prepared to discuss today, but I do appreciate the question. It's clearly something that's important. One additional follow-up from you.
Can you help us understand why these locations, why this bar, why this bowling alley? What's he looking for someone? What's he looking for something?
I think that does speak to motive, so I appreciate the follow-up, but not something we're going to be prepared to answer today. I have one more question.
Yeah,
right here.
yeah.
Right here.
Can you say, is card, first off, to clarify, were the arrest warrants issued today? And can you say if card is still in the stage or even still alive?
Well, we're actively searching for him. If I knew the answers to those questions, that this would be a different press conference, I would assume. So we don't know his location, and I'll leave it at that. And we are working with the Attorney General's office. So with that in mind, we're done taking questions for now. So we are going to actually take off at this point. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Sir, have there been any credible things? I mean, we've not really gotten many answers. So
Thank you.
Okay, so we heard it there. I do want to take a look at some new video that we now have here at the live desk we just received during that press conference as it was underway. And I also just want to touch on some updates that we do know so far today. Actually, let's take a live look at CNN right now as those updates continue to come in. We'll continue to go up as they come in. But as of 15 minutes ago, we did hear from the governor, that is Governor Janet Mills in Maine. And she actually gave us the latest information as far as how many people are deceased. We do know that 18 people were killed in last night's shootings in Lewiston, Maine, and we do know that 13 people were injured. The governor went on to say that she was profoundly saddened to have to report this news. She also gave us an update that she spoke to President Joe Biden as well as Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, twice throughout the last few hours. And she also said, quote, "No words can truly measure the grief of people today." And again, that grief is not just being felt in Maine, it is also being felt across the nation, including here in Kansas City. We have that statement from Mayor Quentin Lucas, and we'll continue to track the latest developments from local leaders as well. Let's take another live look outside as that manhunt outside in Maine, as that manhunt continues to be underway there. Looks like a man's going to stand in our shot there. So let's take a look here. You can see that caution tape still put up. I also want to touch on everything else that they gave us during that news conference. We know that President Joe Biden, he has ordered all U.S. and state flags to be lowered at half staff for the next 5 days for mourning of the people that lost their lives and also for the people who have been injured. And again, that number, we do know that there are at least 13 people that are injured. As far as their condition, we don't know that just yet, but they also touched on the fact that 7 people were deceased at the bowling alley once police arrived, 8 deceased at the restaurant in Maine. We don't know the ages of those victims, the people that did pass away, but we also know that police said that they were apparent gunshot wounds, and 3 were taken. We know several were taken to the hospital, but 3 that were taken and transported to the hospital, they later on died. Again, touching on those details that we heard in that press conference, if you joined it a little bit late, the public safety commissioner, he said that he has a strong focus on bringing the suspect into custody, and again, that suspect is going going to be this man here on your screen, 40-year-old Robert Card. We don't have many details about him, as you heard there from law enforcement officials, but they are working to get more information and releasing that to the public here soon. But they ask the public to be patient as they continue to gather information, as this is an ongoing investigation. And they also touched on the fact that this is very early in the investigation, the homicide investigation. They also urged the public to be mindful of their safety and to be patient, and that they're all hands on deck during this approach. Now, we are still working to learn more details, waiting to learn more details. But I also want to touch on this, that authorities are still searching for the person of interest as we continue to get live updates in from CNN. I want you all to see this here on your screen. They're still searching for that person of interest, who is 40-year-old Robert Card, I should say, and they are urging residents to report anything suspicious by calling 911. Do not approach him under any circumstances. Definitely want to continue to touch on that. And I want to touch on this statement coming in from the governor. She says the city did not deserve this terrible assault on its citizens, on its peace of mind, on its sense of security. The governor said no city does, no state, and no people. Continue to scroll up on the latest updates that we do have here coming in from CNN, from that press conference. CNN also just released another photo of Robert Card that you will soon be able to see here on your screen. You should be able to see that now. And again, that is who the police are looking for. Again, they cannot give a lot of details as far as where he might be, if they even have that information, but as well as how was he still able to have the firearms that he did, knowing that he was, making threats to other facilities and that he was in a mental institution after hearing voices in his head? How was he still able to even have those firearms in his possession, I should say? So a lot of questions and a lot of answers not yet put out there, not yet released to the public anyway. But we do know that the director of public safety, he did say that our reality for today is that the suspect is still at large. And again, you can see that live shot coming in from Maine right now. Before I let you all go here at the live desk, I do want to touch on the fact that we are starting to hear from residents in Maine, and they're just all expressing their fear and how tragic this entire situation is. And I know that tragedy is being felt, like I said, here in Kansas City as well. So we definitely wanted to make sure we provide this information, the latest information, to you all. But I do want to take a listen in from one of the residents who basically just said that he does not feel safe anymore. Let's take a listen in.
A lot of kids go here. My family, we usually come here and go bowling with the kids just to get out of the house. Place to go have a good time and have fun. And then we get somebody's crazy like that walk in and do what they did, I think the population, the people in the population today need to start protecting everybody too. Because that's the way I feel, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel safe here anymore.
Again, that is a statement coming in from a resident there in Maine. And if you just take a look at his eyes, you can see the fear, you can see the frustration, you can see the sadness that he feels, and I'm sure a lot of people feel in that community as they continue to wake up to this news that at least 18 people have passed away and 13 are injured after mass shootings in Lewiston, Maine last night. 7 deceased at that bowling alley, 8 deceased at a restaurant. And again, like we touched on at the beginning before that press conference, we do know that several area schools, they have been shut down for today and possibly will be closed again tomorrow, as well as stores. They're starting to close their doors as well and not go into business, just in honor of the people who did pass away, the people who are injured, and then honestly, just for their safety, as that manhunt is still underway. Taking another live look at that shot we do have from Lewiston, Maine. Here at KCTV5, we will continue to track the latest developments as they come in to our newsroom. I do know we have our noon newscast coming up in about 2 hours, so you want to make sure you tune in to that as well. And if we have any information, we will be sure to let you all know first. Be sure to download the KCTV5 News app. You can have notifications come straight to your phone. And if there's any breaking news developments, I'll be sure to hop back on here at the live desk to let you all know first.